I like every high school kid in Canada, and even more so farm high school kids, had to study a little bit of Shakespeare. And we kind of got into a little bit here and there and kind of didn't, and actually got more out of the teacher's description than out of the Shakespeare itself, and so on and so forth. And this poem that I dug out of my past and have been tinkering on here a little bit has kind of got some of the everyman's attitude towards Shakespeare in it. It's called A Poem Containing a Line from Hamlet, an Apple, Mel Gibson Before His Fall, and the Full Moon. Linda and I had our flower shop going at the time in Vancouver. Having sold far too many flowers at the shop today, so many I can no longer see beauty, I walked home, flopped down exhausted on the couch, and thought of going into my room piled with papers and trying to pick out some poems to mail. I'm always stalling. Who would want to publish a poem of mine? This one, for example. I mean, is it even a poem? Anyway, it's time to start. So, okay, I'll do it. But first, I flicked on the boob tube. Mel Gibson. A few minutes of action then. I sat back. He was wearing armor. It must be that movie about Scotland he won an Oscar for. All those battle scenes. Okay, I'll watch it. But wait, what's he saying? That sounds awfully familiar. Oh, just my luck, it's Shakespeare. Good old boy Mel Gibson with Shakespeare coming out of his mouth. I guess I'll catch a few minutes just for a laugh. Look at that, a real castle in the background. And that countryside, some stage for a play. Denmark, I guess. I remember reading a review of Mel playing Hamlet, Prince of Denmark. They said he did a fair job, just too physical. But he sure looks real. Lots of very realistic emotion all over his face, with that Shakespeareese coming out of his mouth at the same time. Must be hard to do, like patting your head and rubbing your belly at the same time. A good actor. I can't see how Laurence Olivier could do it any better, even if he is a lord and has an English accent instead of Mel's Aussie one. I wouldn't know the difference anyway. But I expect little old Mel could do the most wonderful acting, only to find it's the wrong kind, because Shakespeare is apparently all poetry. So maybe you have to kind of do it in a sing-song voice, while patting your head and rubbing your belly. Who knows? Anyway, I was only half listening while I was looking down at this apple I was peeling. I've got this thing now of peeling my apples, then eating the peelings. Suddenly I heard Mel say, in those soft words that drift out when someone is really thinking, to be or not to be. I looked up. Who wouldn't be hearing that line spoken seriously as if for the first time? He was standing kind of absently in this underground area. Low ceiling, stone arches all around, that sort of thing, but not a creepy place. It was well lit, the still kind of place where you might suddenly realize things. Well, I don't know how many times I've heard that speech. Oh, back in high school, and then people in movies who get inspired and stand around in a bar and start reciting it from their old acting days, and I've never understood it. But this time, I was kind of standing there in the quiet with Mel, trying to decide if it's better to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune or to sleep, perchance to die. To die, to not be. It's like, is it better to somehow get into the anxiety and randomness of life? Maybe even send out some poems? Or should I just stumble home from work every day in a shocked daze and flop down and fall into the tube? It's funny, I was right there, following his argument for the first time. Maybe because it was only Mel. But I guess this is a big conflict in me now as well. It bothers me that quite often I die after work. I know I do. I may not look dead, but I'm not a person. I'm not a body, I'm a person. And when I avoid this my only life, I'm dead. Even though my body is now shoveling down apple peeling, staring at a screen on a box. I'm avoiding exactly what Mel was saying, the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. I know I should accept this odd life and be satisfied that it and not some other is mine, and then try to be this person. Well, anyway, at this point I was kind of sitting upright staring at Mel, who was going over my argument with me, standing up really, while sitting down. I stood there till Mel stumbled out of the depths, then sat back as he wound up the story, of course predictably. Mel is a tragedy after all. Hamlet, I mean. So, of course, in the end, all the important people die, and they did. Many in typically Shakespearean ways, drinking poison meant for someone else, that sort of thing. Well, I was in a hurry to get a video back to Blockbusters, an action thriller where everybody dies, but only if they're bad guys. And I only had 10 minutes to go before the big gong of time would hit midnight, so as soon as I saw Mel on the floor, I shut off the screen, grabbed up the video, threw on my coat, pumped my legs down the street, and seeing all my real neighbors, real houses all around me as I slid down the sidewalk, I thought, how odd that every main character in your play should have to die, as if their lives were that important. As if the meaning of their lives so overwhelmed just plain existence that they had to end at exactly the right times and for the right reasons. I couldn't imagine that happening to me. Life seemed tragedy enough while just living. And then I saw in my mind all those millions of other lives out there in the dark. And tromping down the street, I thought, like Mel, that this may be a random and overflowing world, but the only thing for all of us to do is to suffer its slings and arrows, maybe even the noblest, who knows? But we'll leave that up to the likes of Hamlet. Finally, as I walked, the cool air caught me and I stopped all this talk and felt my movement, my sizeless self. Out loud I said, "There's only me," and I looked around. Well, spring was in the night air. The stars were up. And even in the city of Vancouver, the full moon up there dropped so many megawatts down through the night that every ordinary thing felt magical. Like I was inside that movie somehow, or came through it to here. I was looking up and thinking it was strange, because lately I've been noticing how blurry my eyes are becoming. But it doesn't seem to matter a bit gazing into that deep blue vault up there. Blur can't be seen at all. Only the cool, endless sky all around, like a dream. And me inside it, and it inside me, I guess. It was magical how mixed up I was getting to be.
Faster. Faster, my love implored, please, faster, with a whispering sigh. But my slobbering ancient lover's tongue, so wise